Welcome back to another episode of the Basketball Lab podcast. I'm your host, Mark Shannon, and once again, I'm joined by my co-host, Marco Corona.
What's up?
Just trying to make it through. You're just trying to make it through the days,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Right? It's the sun goes down way too early now. It's like by the time it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I'm feeling like I'm ED. I want to fall asleep like 5, 6 o'clock. Right?
You're
like,
zombie. That's
literally like it's crazy. Like I sit down on the couch and I'm like, okay, I'm about to fall asleep here.
Yeah, wrap it up.
Right. And that's and I'm not watching Houston Rockets games. I'm just saying, like, right? They're not putting me to sleep. I'm just, but
that's awful. That is awful. But you know what? That's a good way to fall asleep. I gotta take note of that.
Exactly.
I'm a late night owl, so sometimes I have problems sleeping. So I'll make sure I PVR some Houston Rockets basketball.
Exactly, right. I mean, it's been pretty brutal, but obviously the big news so far of the last couple of days was the King elbowing Isaiah Stewart in the face, and then a mini Malice at the Palace broke out, right? But it was funny. The thing that I caught my eye was the most was not even Isaiah Stewart running around like he was Ray Lewis trying to hit people. It was more so like he was trying to break through tackles and all this stuff. It was like Derek Lewis with the stiff arms, just pushing people off, right? But it was more so the commentator, like the guy in the announcer
arena,
who had to go onto the PA and say, stay off the court to the fans, because we all know what happened.
He was probably having flashbacks.
Exactly. We all know what happened at the Palace of Auburn Hills, right? So
yeah,
I don't think anybody, especially Detroit, wants another episode of that. But
no.
I mean, I think we're both in it. I don't think either of us thought it was intentional from LeBron, but maybe you do. I don't know. I don't think it was intentional that he meant to elbow the guy and cut the guy in his face, right? Like LeBron for his fair share gets a lot of heat for stuff like that. But I mean, he's not and complaining and whining and stuff, but I don't think he intentionally meant to hurt Isaiah Stewart.
Well, yeah, and I think that's where we have that divide, whether it's me and you or people or the audience watching it. And I think that we have to be careful on bias, because do I think it was intentional? Yeah, I think it was intentional, but the intent was not to hurt. Yeah. I think it was one of those, I'm going to give you a little nudge. It's like, get out of here, guy, like move, like shoe fly, get out of here. And then he actually caught him in the good spot.
Yeah.
Right. It's like hitting the funny bone, and it's like, oh, I wasn't supposed to do that. And the reason I say is because you can tell, like, if you watch this frame by frame, like you can tell by his reaction that he was actually even surprised how hard he hit him.
Yeah.
And the impact that it had. And then he was surprised on the reaction, because the first thing that LeBron is looking to do is, like, you can see he's like, oh shit, my bad. Right?
Yeah.
If you do something, if I'm going to come to your house and elbow you in the face, I'm not apologizing if it's intentional. I'm not saying I would do it to you. Yeah. Right? Unless you're Matt Nagy. That's another podcast. But what I'm saying is,
we get a chance started here?
Too soon. But I do think that there was intent to send a message, but I don't think there was intent to injure. It's like in baseball, right? You want to do a brush back, but you don't want to hit a guy in the head with a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. And LeBron got away from that, and I think he hit him and he cut him open, and then all hell broke loose. I'm okay with the suspension.
Absolutely.
I think the NBA did the right thing, especially if you want to be the league that, unlike the NFL, that you want to make sure that everybody is being treated equally.
Yeah.
Right? So whether it was one game or two games, I knew that the NBA had to do something and not just a fine. A fine was not going to cut it, which is a bad pun, because Mr. Stewart, who was cut open, completely lost his mind. I'm actually surprised it was only 2 games. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I think, considering if you look at the grand scheme of things, if the suspension was to send a message to everybody saying that we don't allow our superstars to do things like that because we have to protect the brand, the logo, then the look of what Stewart did just looked actually just terrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible, right? It was his reaction. It was the fact that, you know, he had like all these people trying to hold him down. He just lost it. I think that, you know, we've all lost it at one point or another in our lives, whether we play sports or, you know, at work. Anyways, now that's another story. But yeah, I think that that was just a bad look for the NBA. And I think that he got away with just 2 games. That's my opinion.
Yeah, it was kind of like, it was weird because it was like he just, nobody could stop him. It was just like, you know, you controlled them. Cade Cunningham and Dwayne Casey, they had him controlled, and then he walked away. And the next thing you knew, it was like like I said, it was like Derrick Henry breaking through the tackles, like stiff arming people just to try and get to him, right? And then you obviously you have guys at the back, like on the Lakers, like Russell Westbrook, who are chirping and saying stuff, right? Like, right? You know what I mean? And like, obviously, I think
I'm sorry, I'm laughing on this.
You saw obviously after the aftermath or whatever, and they cleared him off the court or whatever, and Carmelo was talking to the ref, and he said Isaiah Stewart's not coming here, and then Corey Joseph walked past him, and it was like Carmelo was like, "Oh, what are you doing down here? Like, come on, Carmelo, like it's over, it's done with, like let it go," right? But I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, I think the NBA did what they needed to do to show that, you know what, even though LeBron James may have not in it and intentionally done something to do it, it escalated into something that the NBA didn't want to see happen because, right, like I said, the Malice, the Palace, it's the same thing. You've already had that before. You don't want something like that. And it was kind of ironic because Isaiah Stewart was kind of acting like Ron Artest kind of did. It was just like he saw red, and it was like there was no stopping it.
He blacked out.
Yeah, exactly. It was like the same, like the same thing. Like I said, like Ron Artest, he kind of was like he saw red. Literally, he saw red, obviously, but and nobody could stop him. There was just no question, no stopping him from trying to get at LeBron and the Lakers and stuff. Obviously, right?
But so the Artest thing is an interesting analogy because I think Artest was obviously the Artest thing to me wasn't even close because Artest got involved with fans.
Absolutely,
right? That is completely crossing the line of any sport. And Artest saw red, he saw the line, he crossed it, and then he added some.
Yeah.
I just want to know your opinion on this. And I'm not trying to make light of a situation because there's kids that, you know, watch the NBA. This is a bad example. If you have nieces and nephews and or kids or, you know, sons or daughters, this is not the example that the NBA wants to, you know, showcase. Yeah, for sure. Hence why the suspension. And Stewart is a young guy, right? Like, I mean, this is a learning lesson. And I think hopefully makes him better going forward, right? And I think the Detroit Pistons are going to have to talk to him, monitor him, because if it was that easy to trigger him like this, then I hope that this was an anomaly and not the norm. We don't know him, so I don't know what his behavior is. Now, do you honestly think that Stewart was actually going to get up?
No, absolutely not. There's no question.
Like there's zero chance, in my opinion. Yeah, and this is why I did the Artest thing, because Artest knew what he wanted to do and he actually did it.
Yeah.
I think Stewart knew what he wanted to do, but there's zero chance that he was actually going to put his hands on LeBron James. Zero.
Yeah. There's zero chance.
Zero chance.
There was zero chance that he was actually going to get through to LeBron James in the first place.
Right.
Like, you know, like LeBron, you're talking about LeBron James. He's arguably not a top, no matter who you're speaking to, whatever, it doesn't matter. Right.
But what I'm saying to you is, like, my question is, do you actually think
he would even do it?
Fighting LeBron. Like if everybody just said, okay, go. Do you actually think this kid was actually going to do that?
I don't know. I'm
calling bullshit. I don't think he was going to.
But see,
we've seen NBA fights, man.
Yeah,
these guys are not fighters.
I know. But like my thing is that at the end of the day, like at that point in time, you don't know, like you said, you black out, you kind of just do whatever you right. You don't even know who the hell you're fighting at the end of the day. You don't know who you're going after at the end of the day, right? He could have thought he was going after he could have thought he was going after Carmelo Anthony. He could have thought he was going after whoever, right? Obviously, I think we all know, right? He got hit in the face pretty hard. He was bleeding.
Yes,
could have been could have been some sort of a concussion, some sort of anything like that. Obviously, there's when you get hit in the head nowadays, you don't know, right? So it's not. But do I think he actually would have went through with it? Probably not. No. I mean, you're talking about LeBron. You're talking about LeBron James. It's not like you're talking about a slouch, right? You're not.
Right.
Right. So I don't think you're definitely gonna. I don't think he definitely would have got through or even attempted to physically assault or fight LeBron James.
Yeah, it's not like he's trying to get at Utah Watanabe or
Yeah,
somebody else or something. No disrespect to Utah, by the way. Welcome back, but
yeah,
come on.
like if he was going after one of the Morris twins, I would have said, okay, yeah, let him go. Go ahead.
Oh, I would have paid for that. I'm fine. You know what? I'll start the GoFundMe page and then I'll send you some money because whatever. We're not promoting violence, but
no, I'm just saying
bitches,
we just don't like them. Yeah, you just don't like
bitches.
those guys.
You can say it. They're bitches.
So, I mean, obviously, keeping on the Lakers in a sense here, right? I know you have some strong words for the Los Angeles Lakers. So right now they are what? I think 9-10, sitting in the 9th seed in the Western Conference. They've kind of struggled. They're 7-5 at home. They are what, 2-5 on the road. They've lost 4 of they're 4-6 in their last 10. LeBron has come back. And right, I think we talked about it the last podcast in terms of the Lakers kind of had a little bit of resurgence when LeBron wasn't there. LeBron's come back and they've kind of had a little bit. And I'm not saying LeBron's the factor in it, obviously. I'm just saying that LeBron's come back and they've kind of gone the opposite direction again, right? Tonight, right now, they were down by 2. They're now up 101-100 over the Indiana Pacers. So if they lose tonight, they could be 2 games below 500. And I mean, obviously, it's still a long season. They're only 20 games into the season. That's a lot of games, right? A lot of games that to go through, right? So there's still a lot of time left for the Lakers to turn around. But I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're old, they're old, right? LeBron's been hurt 3/4 of the games this season. So Melo was out for a bit. They've had some issues there. So I don't know. I want to get your take on the Lakers, and I want to hear you sound off on the Lakers.
I and everybody knows that I had picked, and it's not because I thought that the Lakers were going to the NBA Finals, and I'm wrong, and I'm embarrassed about it. I don't care about being wrong. I've been wrong before. I think that when you look at this roster, and yes, I think that we understand that, I think what we said, 13, 14 new players, right? Yeah. So the roster it's a turnover. It's a lot. What really surprises me and disappoints me is the lack of hustle that I see from the Lakers. I thought that the turning point of the season was the win against the Heat when they won in LA. I think it was like by 3 or whatever the case is. That's one of those games that you go, okay, the Miami Heat are no slouches, right? Yeah. The Miami Heat are a legit team. This is what we need to do. We need to show up. And it was in LA, right? And show out. And they did. And I'm like, okay, there you go. This is the turning point, right? This is finally that they got some mojo. LeBron was still out, right? And it's just a matter now of LeBron coming back, and then this team is actually on the trend up. And now you look at today as we record this, they're 9-9 or 9-10, a game under 500. That's unacceptable. For a team of this caliber, with, like you mentioned, with Melo, with LeBron James, with Anthony Davis, and I'll get to him in 1 second because I need to say something about that kid. And believe it or not, I'm going to actually give a pass to Russell Westbrook because everybody thought that Russell Westbrook, and he had his turnover issues early in the season. And I think that if you watch any Russell Westbrook basketball over the last 3, 4, 5, 6 years, this is what he does, especially in the beginning of the season. He sort of looks out of sorts and then he gets it together. So if anything, he's actually on script. I don't know what everybody else's problem is. I really don't. This is not a team that has brought in 14 guys have been in the league or 13 guys, whatever the case is, excluding LeBron. They're not in their 3rd or 4th year in the NBA. Yeah. These are established veterans, right? And they seem to play like, we're going to be okay. We're just going to flip the switch at any time. And then we're just going to figure it out. I'm telling you right now, the LA Lakers of what I thought were going to be are not at this rate, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm not even sure if they can get a home playoff series, like a top 4 seed. They might go back to that, 6 through 9 and that playoff and that wild card BS that I hate. I don't understand. Everything's gone wrong. The defense is awful. Coaching is terrible. LeBron's been hurt. Westbrook is Westbrook. Melo is who he is, and this is exactly what I've been telling people for years. But whatever, it is what it is. Everybody loves Melo except me, right? The bench is awful. The only guy who's actually been consistent since coming back is Tucker.
Yeah.
Like he's been actually playing really solid, consistent. Everybody else has played like absolute trash. And a team of this caliber with arguably one of the best players that we've seen in our generation shouldn't be at 9 and 10.
No.
Okay. Like I get it, a few games over 500, not hot as, as a pistol, but playing like this to me, I'm telling you right now, as it stands, and I don't care, don't at me. The Toronto Raptors, I have more confidence in the Raptors making the playoffs than the other games. For two reasons. One, they haven't shown me anything. And two, they're in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
So I don't understand what the problem is. And the last thing I want to say about the Lakers, and shame on them, by the way, is Anthony Davis has played like ass.
Yeah.
I don't know what his problem is. I don't know if he's bored, if he's tired. He's probably hurt because that's all he seems to do consistently. But he should be, and we said this before in the podcast, that he should be absolutely the best player on that team. LeBron shouldn't be the best player. AD is the best player, and they should go as he goes. And you know what? He's been more down than up. And to me, and you saw the game against Milwaukee, I think it was about a week ago. He got completely schooled by Giannis Antetokounmpo now. Giannis is no slouch, I get it, but to me there was nothing. AD didn't show up, and the Lakers were just taking this well attitude. You know what? Come February, when they're like 6 games under 500 and 3 back of the last spot, this is going to be too late, in my opinion. So they better turn it around. Anthony Davis starts with him. LeBron's going to be fine because he is who he is, but everybody else is playing like complete ass. And right now, they are not even close to being a contender in the Western Conference.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, at the end of the day, you're talking about arguably a team that should be competing at the top, finishing near the top of the NBA standings every single season with the roster they have.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
When you have LeBron James, you have Anthony Davis, and you have Russell Westbrook on your roster. There's no question you should be near the top, but you look at their stats, like offensive rating, they rank 25th in the NBA, right? In defensive rating, a team that arguably prides itself on defense minus Russell Westbrook, right? Like, right? You got Anthony Davis who's arguably a good top defender.
This guy's elite.
Right? He's an elite defender. LeBron James,
an
elite defender, right? There's a lot of guys on that team that are really great defenders, but you're 20th in the NBA in defensive rating. That's horrible, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, they're turning the ball over really, like they're not turning the ball over a lot, right? 29th in the NBA in turnovers, but this team should be playing a lot better. And I mean, we can't sit here and say, oh, the injuries to LeBron and this and that, because let's be real. Look at the fucking Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets are 9-9 on this season. Nikola Jokic again is doing yeoman's work out there,
and he was hurt. He missed a game.
Right, he missed a game, and they just lost. Who did they lose? They just lost.
Rozier, right?
Yeah, those here. Yeah, an ACL for the season, right? So you're already without. What's his name there? Jamal Murray. What's his name? Is Michael Porter Jr. is out indefinitely. They don't even know if he's going to play.
He's not coming back.
Right, but that's what they're saying. They don't even know if he's coming back at the end of the season. You lost Dozier. So and the Denver Nuggets are still 7-3 at home, 2-6 on the road. They're
but it's their fight. To me, it's the way they play. They're not a team that's making excuses. Because the Denver Nuggets could pack it in right now if they want to. Just pack it in,
and everybody would understand.
Figure it out until either Jamal Murray comes back or we'll just try again next year. But to me, it's the fight. And it's going to be nice that the Denver Nuggets are not going to be able to, level up to other teams just because of the lack of depth. And they're going to have to do something. I think they're about $1 million under the cap or whatever the case is. But to me, it's right now, the Denver Nuggets, even as constructed with this beat up roster, are a better team.
Yeah.
Better team. That's the key word. Than the LA Lakers.
Yeah.
Right. On paper, the Lakers are the best, should be top 3 team in the Western Conference.
Absolutely.
But they're playing like a team that is trying to find their way. Like we are 19, 20 games into the season. Okay, I get it. I could give you that excuse for the first 10 games, whatever the case is. But now it's time for the Lakers to step up.
Yeah.
And they're struggling against the Pacers. They struggled against a few weeks ago against Minnesota, right? To me, it's like, what is it? It's like they have no balls. Are they tired? Are they bored? They got bounced pretty early last year, so you would think that they're well rested. To me, I have no idea what's going on with this team. And if I'm LeBron, I'm fucking pissed because this was supposed to be the year we turn over the roster, 180, and you basically what you got on the other end is pure trash.
Yeah.
You should be embarrassed. Sorry.
Well, and that's the thing. On the other end of the spectrum, I think there's a little apology that you have to kind of hand out. I know you don't like apologizing to certain teams and stuff, but
no, I don't.
The Golden State Warriors.
Yes.
Right, they're absolutely killing it so far to start the season. Right, 15-2, 9-1 at home, 6-1 on the road. Their point differential on the season is 13.1 points per game. Right, they're 9-1 their last 10. They've won their last 4. Steph Curry's playing out of this world. Andrew Wiggins is playing consistently good basketball. Jordan Poole's playing consistently good basketball. Right, obviously, at the end of the day, those 3 players are carrying the Golden State Warriors, right? Because Draymond Green he's obviously putting up numbers in terms of his single triple, right? But
triple single, right?
Right, his triple single, right? But other than that, like you look, obviously there's a lot of guys that aren't playing up to standards there, but those 3 guys are consistently playing well every single night. And obviously when you have a guy like Steph Curry playing, now there's talk, what's his name's going to be back by the Christmas break, Klay Thompson, you add him to the mix, man, they're going to be a tough team to beat in that Western Conference, especially playing at home and in Golden State.
And they don't have Wiseman yet.
No,
right?
Exactly.
You forgot about that, right?
No, I know.
So I think what's happened is, and I do need to apologize for now, that I thought everybody was overrating the Golden State Warriors start, because at that time that we had spoken a few weeks ago, they hadn't really played anybody of substance. They had played a lot. It was a heavy home schedule to begin the season. So teams like that can run and gun usually, the schedule favors them at home, right? Now they've gone on a little bit of a road trips and stuff like that, and they've been very consistent. They went into Brooklyn and smacked them. Yeah. They went into Brooklyn, and actually Brooklyn looked like an average team, right? And I know there's no Kyrie, and your boy Stephen A went on a rant a few weeks ago about that and all that shit. We don't do that here, but he can come on the show if he wants. But the Golden State Warriors are playing extremely inspired basketball, and that to me is the difference between the LA Lakers right now and the Golden State Warriors, right? The Golden State Warriors are playing like they're actually having fun and they're enjoying it, which if you're the opposing team or opposing fan, it's annoying as fuck because sometimes they do get under my skin. But they're a really good basketball team at this moment. And they are, what did Bill Parcells in football always say? You are what your record says you are. And that's what they are. Right now, they're a complete team. They have guys who are playing, like you said, Andrew Wiggins, remove Steph Curry for 1 second, is right now their second best player.
Absolutely.
And it's not even close.
Yeah.
I repeat, Andrew Wiggins is their second best player. And you can argue that at times, at nights when, and Steph has been pretty much lights out, he's actually been their best player, which gives him balance, because that means that Steph Curry can take nights off per se. He doesn't actually have to carry the load. But when you play the Golden State Warriors, you basically put all your eggs into make sure that Steph Curry doesn't go off.
Yeah.
But then you have Wiggins going off, and then you have Poole going off. Then you have all these guys, doing the small things. And then you're going to add Wiseman. You're going to add Klay Thompson. And I don't believe they're done adding to the roster. I think they're another move away sometime before the trade deadline to tinker with that lineup for depth. You always need depth, right? The Golden State Warriors are playing out of their friggin' mind. And I honestly thought that they were going to be okay. They were probably going to be like, 4, 5, 6, maybe around that without Klay Thompson. I thought they were a little small for the Western Conference. The Western Conference is tough as nails, but I've been humbled. I'm impressed. We'll see what happens for the remainder of the season, but this team is for real, and Steph is playing like an MVP.
Yeah.
And I don't talk about MVPs in November. So
well, and that's the thing. And it's also like they're playing like, and stats wise, like they're near the top of almost every statistical category there is out there, right? Defensive rating, they're first in the NBA, only allowing a 100 and a half. Sorry, their defensive rating is 100.5. Their offensive rating is second in the NBA. They have an effective field goal percentage of 56.2. Right, they're not turning the ball over. They're getting a lot of steals in the defensive end, right? Tied for second. They're passing the ball. They're like teammate wise, right? They're passing the ball. They're averaging
Yeah.
almost just over 29 assists per game.
Right.
Their field goal, they shoot the second best field goal percentage in the NBA at almost 40.
They're efficient.
47 and a half.
You're talking about
right?
efficiency, right? You're talking
Yeah.
about efficiency. And of course, the 3-pointer, because Steph Curry doesn't miss.
And I think a lot of people were expecting this to happen last year with the Golden State Warriors, and it didn't happen, right? Because obviously they fell down and they struggled a little bit. They weren't the same team that they were before. Obviously,
Right.
before Klay Thompson went down, they lost Kevin Durant, they lost all that. But I think people still expected the Golden State Warriors to compete better
Right.
last year than they did. Obviously, there was the pandemic, COVID, all this other stuff. But this year, it seems like they're on a mission. Right.
But doesn't it feel like they picked up where they left off after, that play-in? Because they got really hot in the second half of the season when Steph was just basically not missing at all.
Yeah.
Right. And yes, they lost to the Lakers in that play-in, whatever. But it seems like from that moment on, the Golden State Warriors trajectory kept on going this way in spite of not having Klay. And the Lakers had a sort of plateau and have now gone the other way.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing. And I think a lot of it has to do with, and maybe I just said this, I think a lot of this has to do with them trying to prove the doubters wrong, right? There were a lot of people that kind of sort of doubted them and said, okay, you know why they don't have Klay, Andrew Wiggins, right? Exactly. Yeah. Andrew Wiggins is he's inconsistent at times. He's not,
because we haven't seen it. We've
exactly
seen
right.
Consistent Wiggins, so that's what we expected. We don't expect this.
He's not the best defender out there, right? No. You don't have James Wiseman. You don't know what Draymond Green you're getting, right? Kuminga's not getting much playing time right now. He's still a rookie. There's a lot of right? There was a lot of question marks going into the season, but it's like they've come on. They said, you know what? These guys don't expect a whole ton from us. Let's go out and prove them wrong, right? Let's go out, right? Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, I'm going to make a bold prediction. I think they're going to finish off as the first seed in the Western Conference.
The top seed in the Western Conference.
Absolutely. I think I'm going to make a bold prediction right now. I'm thinking that I'm going to say they're going to continue this pace throughout the rest of the season, right? Obviously, I don't think they're going to end up with they're not going to end up with 72 wins, but I think they're going to be the number one seed in the Western Conference. I don't think there's any question. You add Klay back into that mix. If he's fully healthy and can stay healthy, I think that's a recipe for disaster for a lot of these teams, especially if they're shooting the way they're shooting, playing defense the way they're playing. So
okay, so I'm going to contradict myself for a second because I think the Golden State Warriors are playing out of their mind. But you, as a Phoenix Suns fan, and maybe we can get into that now, you legitimately think that they're going to be a better team at the end of the year, at least from a standings point, than your Phoenix Suns?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
I think.
Okay.
Maybe I'm going to say that obviously the Phoenix Suns fan. Obviously, the Phoenix Suns are what they've won 14 in a row now. They just want to get.
They're only one back of Golden State.
Well, they just won tonight, right? So they beat Cleveland 121.
I beat Cleveland. Yeah.
Right, exactly. They beat Cleveland, so they've won 14 straight now. But they're 8-2 at home, 6-1 on the road. They played well. They played really good basketball. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I'm a Suns fan. I want to see them thing, but I think I think fatigue is going to play a factor at the end of the year. Especially for the Suns, right? They made it to the playoffs. They made it to the finals. They went through 5-6 grueling games against Milwaukee. It wasn't like those games were all blowout games against Milwaukee. They were grueling games. They played the Clippers. Those were some grueling games as well, right? They didn't have an easy stretch in the playoff where it was just like, you know what, we just coasted through. They still had to put on a little. So I think a little fatigue is going to come where it's Golden State. They've kind of got some legs. They haven't made the play. They haven't made the playoffs in 2-3 years now. It's been a while, so they haven't played into
that mileage. They've stayed the mileage.
Exactly, right? Especially on especially on a guy like Steph Curry. Andrew Wiggins
True.
has been a guy that's plays a lot of games. He doesn't get hurt very often, but he's a Draymond Green, another guy. It gives time for James Wiseman to get back. It gives right. You add a lot of these guys back into the mix. I just think Golden State is just. I think Golden State is a better team offensively than the Phoenix Suns, and I think offense is going to be key for Golden State, and we've seen that before. Well, and that's just I'm just saying I love the Phoenix Suns. I think they're built for success with the way their roster is built. Obviously, right? You brought in Chris Paul, and it's changed the dynamic of that team, right? McCall Bridges is playing well. Devin Booker's playing well again. Jay Crowder's playing well on both ends of the floor. Cam Johnson, DeAndre Ayton, Landry Shamet and JaVale McGee are playing well, right? But that's what I mean. Like in terms of like depth wise, I think Phoenix is obviously the better team depth wise. Obviously, right? If you've got what one, I think I'm going to say here about 5-6 guys that are averaging double figures, right? Even including Frank Kaminsky, who's hurt right now, JaVale McGee, DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, McCall Bridges, right? They're all averaging double figures. So I think the Phoenix Suns are going to be a really good team, right? And you're talking about field goal percentage, and we're talking about Golden State and Phoenix. Phoenix is the best field goal percentage team, which means they're efficient, right? Golden State was number 2, but offensively, defensively, surprisingly, right? They're the third ranked team in defensive rating this season, and coming from a team like Phoenix who has Devin Booker and guys like that who aren't the best defenders out there.
Yeah.
To see them rank as a top 3 in the Western Conference in terms of defensive rating, that's pretty good. But I'm
surprised. I am surprised that you're actually taking this route. As much as I'm praising the Golden State Warriors, I mean, and yes, I shat on the Lakers. I am surprised that you are not giving your Suns more credit.
It's not me not giving them credit.
But in fairness, and sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
mileage is very key. The Phoenix Suns have been relevant for 1 year. Golden State has been Golden State for all but 2 years over the last 6 to 7 years.
Yeah.
So I get the gist of it. I also do think that it will actually serve Phoenix that they don't need to be the number 1 seed.
No,
I don't think they do.
No.
As a matter of fact,
they were the number 2 seed last year.
Right. As a matter of fact, I think they just need to get into that, 2, 3, 4 spot, and they'll be okay. But I guess we need to write this one down and revisit this at All-Star break, and then at the end of the season, and in May or in April, whatever that is. Right. But wow. Okay. Listen, I think the Phoenix Suns have played fantastic basketball, probably third best or second best in the NBA period. The East has been a little bit inconsistent from top to bottom. And we'll probably get into that, another podcast or the next podcast. But, the West to me is still down to the Lakers are dead, so I'm not talking about them. So Phoenix, it's, the Utah Jazz, which, the Utah Jazz are that team, regular season. The Utah Jazz are that team that may actually finish first and be bounced in the first, right? Because we haven't seen it yet. We have not seen. I think they're 2 players short of actually being a little better than what they are. The Golden State Warriors right now are in that conversation, and everybody else sort of just is going to interchange. So this is an interesting start to the season. We're almost at the quarter mark of the season, so teams have to start establishing themselves, and Golden State and Phoenix have. Everybody else is still chasing.
Yeah, and I mean, just before we end off the podcast here, I'm going to give an apology of sorts to myself, right? Because I said the last time we did the podcast that one of my disappointments of the season was the Portland Trailblazers, right? And ever since then, they've gone 7-3. They're now 9-1 at home, 10-8 on the season as a 6th seed in the Western Conference. And normally we see that Western Conference is just like that top 8 is just like 5-10 games above 500, and now it's kind of like the Eastern Conference where it's kind of like it's middling in the middle of the table from 4 to 8, right? Dallas is 10-7. I don't like their depth. I don't like Dallas's depth.
Yeah, no,
right?
They're
not right. They're not playing well on the road, so I don't like them. The Clippers, Again, they're missing Kawhi. Yeah, they're 8-4 at home, 2-4 on the road. Portland Trailblazers, yeah, they're absolutely shit on the road, right? 1-7, right? 1-7 on the season, but they're basically unbeatable at home in Portland.
8-1,
right?
I think, right? Or 9-1.
9-1, right? After
yeah.
right, 9-1 after last night. So I think I got to give a shout out to them in terms of the fact that they've been able to sort of turn it around after that little thing where everybody was like, "Oh, Dame Lillard should be asking for a trade to get out." And I mean, don't get me wrong, Dame Lillard could ask for a trade to get out still, because I mean he's given all that he can to Portland. I mean, unless he brings them a title, like there's nothing else for him to prove to Portland other than bringing a title, right? And if there's not, the pieces aren't around him, he's not going to be able
That's
to
the key,
right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
If the pieces
it's not about what Dame does, is what it can do for Dame.
Exactly. Right. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them. Just say, you know what, I apologize. You know, you were a disappointment in the first little bit of the season, but you've turned it around a little bit, right? You've gone the opposite direction of the Lakers.
Before we go, just want to make sure. So you apologize to the Trailblazers. I apologize to Golden State. I feel like you're going to take back your apology from Portland, and I'm going to keep my apology to Golden State, because Portland is exactly what it should be. Middle of the pack.
Yeah.
They're going to go on a losing streak sometime. Dame's going to be annoyed. At the end of the season, he's going to get traded or blah, blah, blah. And then the Portland Trailblazers are going to be exactly who they are.
Yeah.
Get into the playoffs, fight for a spot, and then losing 7 games in the first round. And then we're going to wonder, what happened to Portland? So basically, you're apologizing right now, but you're going to take it back. Watch.
No.
You're going to take it back.
Probably. Probably at some point I'll take it back. That's for sure.
Take it back.
But I'm not taking it back. I'm still sticking by my bold prediction of the Golden State Warriors finishing as the #1 seed in the Western Conference. I might even go as far as to say they're going to finish the #1 seed in the entire NBA.
You should post that and let's see what the people say.
Let the
people speak.
Don't get me wrong, the Brooklyn Nets are good and all that, but I just don't see any team in the East beating them in terms of the standing wise. I'm going to, like I said, bold prediction: first in the West, first in the NBA.
Okay, we're gonna have to hold you to this. And remember, it's online, it's recorded, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get this up. You guys let us know if you agree or disagree with my bold prediction here. We'll get that up there for you.
Yeah, you're gonna take it back. I'm telling you right now.
I'm not. I can guarantee you, I'm not gonna take it back. I'm gonna guarantee you.
All right, cool. We'll let the people speak.
All right. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Basketball Lab podcast.